Hello and very welcome everyone to this session of the medieval modern history previous year questions part 1. In today's session we are going to discuss some of the things that are relevant to the modern history that has been asked in earlier exams, and we will see what kind of questions would come into your upcoming exams. So let's start, and these are the topics I got covered for you. So arrival of Europeans in India, we are going to discuss about the advent of Europeans basically. Before we start, the images used in our slide deck are for educational purpose only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners of these images. If you are the owner of any of the images used in this deck and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathee@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the images. So first we have is, where was the first British presidency established in India? So options are Mumbai, Goa, Surat and Kolkata. So take your time and try to find out the answer. And I guess you have figured out the right answer. The answer is Surat. So in India, the first British presidency was established in Surat in 615 to 618, reached in Jahangir's court and achieved right for the company. The order of the entry of foreign in India is Portuguese, Dutch, English, Danes and French. So do remember that particularly when we are talking about the first British presidency established in India, so that was done in Surat. The first English factory of Bengal was set up on the banks of the river in 1651. Which river was that? Options are Swarnrekha, Son, Hooghly and Damodar. If you have a little bit knowledge of geography, this question is simple for you, but try to find out the answer. So basically we know that the first factory that was established was on the bank of the river Hooghly. So the first English factory of Bengal was set up on the banks of the river Hooghly in 1651. Hooghly River is a tributary of Ganga. It was abandoned in 1690 AD when they shifted to Calcutta. So do remember the answer is Hooghly. In which of the following places did the English open their factory in 1611 on east coast of India? Madras, Masulipatinam, Tuticorin or Yanam? So take your time and try to find out the answer, guys. And you're right. The answer is Masulipatinam. So East India Company ships docked at Surat in 1608, but the company was first established in Masulipatinam or Machilipatnam in Andhra Pradesh in 1611 and later in Surat in 1612. Captain Hawkins granted permission with the permission of Mughal Emperor Jahangir. So the answer is Masulipatinam. So the particularly if we talk about the English opened their factory in 1611, so that is on the eastern coast of India, and that is Masulipatinam. If we talk about the first official factory, so that was in Surat after they got permission from Jahangir, and the first fort was in Madras. So remember all these things. Who discovered the sea route to India? Vasco da Gama, Ibn Battuta, Christopher Columbus or Huenzang? So try to find out the answer. And the answer is Vasco da Gama. So Vasco da Gama discovered the sea route to India in the year 1498, 2 years after he sent his sail from Lisbon. Vasco da Gama arrived on the western sea coast of India at Kozhikode, Kerala. That earlier at time was known as Calicut. This was the first time when a European had arrived in India via the sea. Vasco da Gama is credited with the discovery of sea route to India. So option that is here is Vasco da Gama. So he discovered the sea route to India. That was Vasco da Gama. He came to India thrice and he died in India only. But later on, his tomb was shifted from India to Portugal. When was the Goa captured by the Portuguese? Try to find out the answer. 1605, 1590, 1510 or 1485. Try to find out the answer, guys. And your answer is right. The answer is 1510. So this was the time of Alfonso de Albuquerque when the Goa was captured by the Portuguese. And if we talk about the first governor of Portuguese, so that was Francisco de Almeida. So Goa was Portugal's first territorial possession in Asia, captured by Alfonso de Albuquerque with the help of Timaya. Goa became the Portuguese colony in 1510 when Admiral Alfonso de Albuquerque defeated Sultan of Bijapur Yusuf Adil Shah. After defeating Adil Shah, it served as the main Portuguese base in the east for 4.5 centuries. On 19 December 1961, Goa was liberated and made a composite union territory with Daman and Diu. On 30th May 1987, Goa was conferred statehood and Daman Diu was made a separate union territory. So basically, if we talk about this thing, so 1510 was the time when the Goa was captured by Portuguese. Dash were the first to discover the sea route to India. Were they Portuguese, French, English, or Dutch? Very simple question. And answer is quite right. The answer is Portuguese. So Portuguese were the first to discover a sea route to India. The sea route to India was first discovered by Vasco da Gama. Vasco da Gama came to India thrice. He was the Portuguese explorer and first European to reach India by sea. He first reached the port of Calicut, today known as Kozhikode, on 20th May 1498 with the help of guide Ahmad ibn Majid. Other than this, the sea route to America was discovered by Columbus in 1492. So do remember, the answer is Portuguese. The famous explorer Dash wanted to come to India but instead landed on the shores of America. So options are Genghis Khan, Vasco da Gama, Christopher Columbus, or Alexander. So take your time and try to find out the answer. And the answer is quite right. So the answer is Christopher Columbus. So the famous explorer Christopher Columbus was a Spanish sailor. He wanted to come to India, but instead landed on the shores of America in 1492. He thought America is India. That is why the Native Americans became known as the Red Indians. So the answer is Christopher Columbus. He was from Spain. Vasco da Gama was from Portuguese, and they both particularly divided that they will go from one wanted to go to west and one wanted to go to east. That is why Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492. Later, America was also became the colony of European countries like British and French. But later on, in 1776, on 4th of July, it got independent, and India going gain independence in 1947. In which city of India did the East India Company set up their first trading center? Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Delhi, or Surat? This is a simple question. And the answer of this question is Surat. So on 31st December 1600, at the Surat port in India was the first trading center of the English established. The British landed on the Indian subcontinent at the port of Surat on 24th August 1608 for the purpose of trade, but in 1615 British go royal order to establish a factory at Surat under the leadership of Sir Thomas Raw. Following this, the East India Company also got similar permission from the Vijayanagar Empire to set up their second factory at Masuli. But so remember that particularly Surat was the first place where they set up their first trading center officially. If we talk about unofficially, so that was done in Masuli. But Queen of England was crowned as the Empress of India in 1787, 1876, 1877, or 1867. So if you know something about Delhi Darbar and when did the British Queen became the Empress of India, now you can answer this question correctly. So try to find the answer. I guess you have figured it out. The answer is 1877. So Benjamin Disraeli, conservative Prime Minister of United Kingdom, proclaimed Queen Victoria as the Empress of India. India was already under Crown control after 1858, but this title was gesture to link the monarchy with the empire further and bind India more closely to Britain. So do remember the answer is 1877 and it was done during the first Delhi Darbar. Later on, second and third Delhi Darbar were also organized, and the third Delhi Darbar is most famous. It was held in 1911 when George V came to India and was crowned in India. Dash was formed to trade with East Indies, but at last its trade was limited to China and Indian subcontinent. Options: English India Company, London India Company, East India Company, or British India Company. Try to find out the answer. And your answer is right. The answer is East India Company was the joint stock company established with the purpose of trading with the East Indies. The company was initially set to trade with Mauritius, Southeast Asia, but it ended up trading with China. It was founded by John Watts on 31st December and its headquarters is in London. The company was dissolved on 1st June 1874 by the East India Stock Dividend Redemption Act. So the answer is East India Company, and this was done particularly on 31st December 1600. East India Company was granted by the English Royal Charter by Queen Elizabeth I on 31st December. Dash. So options are 1500, 1600, 1800 or 1700. Try to find out the answer, guys. And I guess you have figured it out. The answer is 1600. So Queen Elizabeth granted the English Royal Charter to East India Company on 31st December, authorizing it to trade in India, east and west coast of India. The company was formed to share the East India spice trade. The company ships first arrived in India at the port of Surat in 1608. So the time they got charter, the emperor was Akbar, and the time they arrived in India, that emperor was Jahangir. Who was the ruler of India at the inception of East India Company? Aurangzeb, Akbar, Jahangir, or Shah Jahan? So take your time. And I hope you're right. The answer is Akbar. So in 1600, a group of London merchants led by Sir Thomas Smith petitioned Queen Elizabeth I to grant them a royal charter to trade with the countries of the East, and so the companies of merchants of London trading with the East Indies or East India Company came into existence. At the same time as Queen Elizabeth I was signing the royal charter for Last India Company. The Mughal Emperor Akbar was the ruler of India at that time. At the time they came to India, the emperor was changed and it was Jahangir. Before the rule of East India Company, India used to export soft clothes made of which fabric? Only cotton, only silk, only nylon, or silk and cotton? So try to find out the answer, guys. And the answer is silk and cotton, because these are the basic raw materials that were found in India at that time, and the type of mainly fabrics are to be made from this fabric only. So before the rule of East India Company, India used to export soft clothes made of silk and cotton, spices, pearls, salt, indigo, dye, saltpeter, and opium. So do remember the answer is silk and cotton. British East India Company established itself during Dash in India, 1600 to 1612, 1641 to 1645, 1701 to 1710, 1721 to 1728. So try to find out the answer. And I guess the answer you are giving is quite right because the answer is 1600 to 1612. So British East India Company established itself during 1600 to 1612. Queen of England Elizabeth I granted East India Company with the monopoly for 15 years over trade to the East Indies. And on the basis of that, they arrived in India, and later on they built a big empire. Later on, this particular monarchy also became the Empress of India, and finally in 1947 we got independence from them. So it was a story of approximately 350 years that they came to India and how we got independence from them. So that's all about it. So remember, British East India Company was established itself in India during 1600 to 1612, and Jahangir was the king who granted approval to them to particularly create this settlement in India. British East India Company was also known by Dash, William Company, John Company, Lord Company, or Lawrence Company. Try to find out the answer. And I guess the answer you are giving is right, though the answer is John Company. So basically, when this idea was given to Queen Elizabeth first, and they got approval on 31st December 1600, the idea was given by two merchants, basically John Watt and George White. So that is why this company was also known as White Company. And British East India Company was also known as John Company as well. Queen of England Elizabeth granted a formal royal charter on 31st December 1600 to British East India Company. So remember, British East India Company was known as John Company. In 1600, Dash empowered British East India Company to set up trade posts in India. Options are in front of you. Try to find out the answer. And I guess the answer you are giving is quite right. So the answer is Queen Elizabeth I. So on 31st December 1600, Queen Elizabeth I set up trade posts in India. British East India Company was originally chartered as the Governor and Company of Merchants of London, trading into the East Indies. So the answer is Queen Elizabeth I was the person who particularly empowered the British East India Company on 31st December 1600. And particularly if we talk about this particular process, after that they came to India, and at that time the king was Akbar. Later on the emperor was changed and it was Jahangir who was created as the emperor, and they came into the court of Jahangir. When did Vasco da Gama came to India? Very simple question. Try to find out the answer, guys. The answer is 1498. So Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama became the first European to reach India via Atlantic Ocean. King of Calicut, the Zamorin, we discovered the new sea route from Europe to India. So basically, he landed into Atlantic Ocean, then he surpassed the Cape of Good Hope, then entered the Indian Ocean through the Mozambique Channel, and then with the help of a Gujarati trader, Ibn Majid, he came to India and reached Calicut. So remember, the Vasco da Gama came to India in 1498 on 20th of May. In the year dash, Vasco da Gama was the first European who came to India via sea route. Options are 1488, 1489, 1498 or 1499. Try to find out the answer. And I guess the answer is quite simple. The answer is 1498. So Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama became the first European to reach India via the Atlantic Ocean. King of Calicut, the Zamorin, discovered the new sea route from Europe to India. So remember his name, Vasco da Gama. Before independence, which one of the following was not a French colony? Puducherry, Chandranagar, uh, Surat, or Goa? Try to find out the answer. Quite a moderate question this is. So you would be confused between Goa and Surat, I guess, but the answer is Goa. So before independence, French had established the trading stations colonies in Surat, Puducherry, Masulipatam, Chandranagar, while Mahe, Karaika, Yanam were taken control by war. French had never established their colonies in Goa and Patna before independence. So do remember the answer is Goa. In which century the Portuguese trader came to India? 14th, 15th, 16th or 17th? Try to find out the answer. The answer is 16th. So Vasco da Gama returned to India in 1502. The Portuguese viceroy Alfonso de Albuquerque was the first European in Cochin in 1503. In 1509, Vasco Francisco de Almeida sets a sail in Bombay. In 1510, Portuguese governor Albuquerque captured Goa from the ruler of Bijapur. So the answer is 16th century. The Portuguese trader came to Goa. European traders arrived near the which Indian European traders arrived near which Indian city with the Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama in 1498. So options are Cochin, Calcutta, Chennai or Calicut. Try to find out the answer. And you're right. The answer is Calicut, not Calcutta. Okay, so remember Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama reached Calicut on Malabar coast in 1498. He was welcomed by local ruler Jamurin and given him special order to establish direct trade link with Portuguese. So the answer is Calicut. So Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama came to India in 1498 and he reached Calicut. He came along with Ibn Majid, a particular Gujarati trader, and with him he reached the shores of Calicut. Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama first came to India via which sea route? Kappa Kadavu Kerala, Alibag Maharashtra, Miramar Goa, Mandavi Gujarat. Very simple question it is. Try to figure out the answer, guys. Answer is Kappa Kaduva Kadavu Kerala. So Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama reached to India on 20th May 1498 on Calicut port near Kappa Kadavu Kerala. And the answer is Kerala. In 1662, Portugal had gifted which Indian city to the British King Charles II as a part of dowry of sister to the of the King of Portugal? Options Bombay, Daman, Goa or Diu. Try to find out the answer, guys. And I guess you have figured it out. The answer of this question is Bombay. So a particular marriage happened between the Portuguese princess, the Catherine of Braganza, and the King Charles II. And during this particular marriage, the dowry of Bombay, the seven islands of Bombay, were given to King Charles. So, particularly, this was the time when the first time this kind of thing happened. And after that, Portuguese and Britishers cooperated with each other, and Portuguese settlements were remained in Goa only, in majorly India. So Bombay is a union of seven islands which was captured by Portuguese in 1534 from the rulers of Gujarat. Bahadur Shah in 1661 Portuguese had gifted Bombay to the British King Charles II as a part of the marriage settlement between King Charles II and Catherine of Braganza. So the answer is Bombay. Where is Cape of Good Hope? Russia, South Africa, Argentina or Germany? So try to find out the answer. And your answer is quite right. The answer is South Africa. So the Cape of Good Hope is located in the southern tip of Cape Peninsula in South Africa. Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama discovered India in 1498 via the Cape of Good Hope. So remember, answer is South Africa. Arabian merchants had exported Indian goods through Red Sea and Mediterranean port in dash countries. Options are Australian, European, American, or African. So try to find out the answer. And I guess the answer is right. The answer is European. So Arabian merchants had exported Indian goods through Red Sea and Mediterranean port in European countries. In 1498, Vasco da Gama discovered a sea 1869 to connect the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea via the tributaries of river. This canal has reduced the 7,000 kilometer distance between Europe and India. So do remember the answer is Europeans. Goa was conquered by Dash in 1510. Options Australian, European, American, or African. Try to find out the answer. And the answer is quite right. The answer is European. So India's first Portuguese governor, Alfonso de Albuquerque, conquered Goa in 1509. He introduced the blue water policy. That means particularly they used to collect tax from the Indian Ocean region. In 1509, Alfonso captured Goa from Sultan of Bijapur, Ismail Adil Shah, with the help of Krishnadev Rai. On 3rd February 1509, Portuguese conquered Goa in Battle of Deep. So remember that the answer is Europeans. When was the French East India Company founded in India? Options are in front of you. Take your time and try to find out the answer. And I guess the answer is quite right. The answer is 1664. Very simple, as it was created by the Prime Minister of France at that time. And the French East India Company was established on 1st of September 1664. And later on, it came to India. And that's it in this session, guys. I hope you learned a lot of things related to the advent of Europeans in India. And we will meet once again in next session, in which we will discuss some more things related to the modern history. This is the starting, and we will see that what are the things that particularly how Europeans captured India. Apart from that, we will also see that how India got independence. So till the time we meet next time, bye bye, take care everyone, and see you soon.